Hey, and welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity. I always say to make money in the market or to learn from the market. But let me go ahead and give my disclaimer, y'all. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. This video is for educational purposes only. So, with that being said, y'all, let's get started. So, we are looking at the VIX, and we just had some information to come out, economic data to come out. And it was interesting that the VIX was just moving sideways as it was, right? And then, this it jumped up to 1761. So I need to remember this number, 1761, because it could very well come back and test this area. Because when I was looking at my higher time frames, I was like, okay, I've got to go figure out where is resistance for the VIX. Well, it has just given me that place. As soon as that information come out, I always ask what stopped this from going up, right? Something had to stop it from going up. It went up, hit that 1761. So we know as of now, 1761 is our resistance for the VIX. Let's look at the SPY. And the SPY was interesting also. It did, some sideways movement. As soon as the report came out, we ran all the way up, tested this 50 EMA on the 30-minute chart, which is right at this ATR trailing stop. It's amazing. See how, as soon as we got that information, it came up to test this resistance, right? Where is the support? Where is your resistance? If you could, determine that, that's the key to trading. Where am I going to have trouble? What's my support place? What's going to hold it up? And what's going to keep it from going higher? So right now, if we break this 50 EMA, which is at the 514.53, we could very well come up to the 516.93, which is not surprising when you see the candle that it made here, only to get this candle here. That's something to be mindful of. And today, we traded within that range, pre-market. I always say the gathering spot was 513.04 for the SPY as support, and the resistance was at 513.52. So we kind of traded within this range. It would not surprise me, even with the information that just came out, if we came back to this area. That's something to be mindful of. So if you trade this SPY, I would say be very, very careful. Information did come out, but that does not mean it's going to run us back to the upside, right? Just trade what you see. I say that often, right? So if we continue to the upside, our next level of resistance is on the 1 hour chart is at 515.82. That's the 50 EMA, and it's right there at the ATR trailing stop. So we could continue climbing, come and test this, and we could get rejected or continue to the upside, right? So if we break the 515.82, then our next level of resistance is at 517.92, which is the 200 EMA on this 1 hour chart, looking at the 1 hour. So on the 4 hour chart, we have trouble at the 516.52 and the 517.96. If we break those levels, then we could very well come back up to this 522.25, which is kind of back where we were before this long sell-off here. So that's something to be mindful of. Again, I always say trade what you see. It's kind of hard when you get news, it's kind of hard to gauge as to what the market is going to do or what do you see. So anything is possible. Let me say that. Let's go to Tesla. That was just interesting altogether with Tesla, because as you can see, Tesla had been trading in this zone, and I marked this 170.01 because that was strong support for Tesla, right? If it dropped below this 170.01, I knew that it had dropped below an area of support. It came down and tested the 169.90 during pre-market. However, that it still bounced from there. As soon as the report came out, we came and tested this ATR trail and stuff. That's why I said those are very strong support and or resistance. We came and tested this area. So it can Tesla continue to the upside? It very well can. We're having trouble here at this 50 EMA and this 200 EMA on the 1 hour chart, which is right here at the 172.91 area. If Tesla breaks this 172.91 or 173, it could very well come up and test this 174.83, which is right at the ATR trail and stop on the 1 hour. That's something to be mindful of. And as you can see, looking at it on a higher time frame, we've been trading in this zone for a while. And again, those are the trouble places for Tesla now is the 172.83 or anything right at the 173, 172.91. Those are issues for us. Now, if we break that, we could very well come up and test this 181.31, which is the 200 EMA right here on the 4-hour chart. So that's something to be mindful of. Again, I always say trade what you see. Don't get so caught up into, oh, I believe it's going to do this, because just when you think we get candles like this or that long candle with the SPY, anything could happen. News can change the direction of the stock at any given moment. NVDA was an inside day. I'll go ahead and give the trigger for that. And we've already broken through the inside day trigger. 874 was the trigger, and 876.35 was the target. We have already reached that target. So, and the video runs about 34, I think $34 a day, $32, 32.17 a day. So it could very well continue to the upside. Again, trade what you see, take your trades carefully, be mindful of that. So to the downside for NVIDIA, let's see, if we break below, let's find that. If we break below 837.09, then the target to the downside would be 830.22. At this point, it's kind of hard to tell because you can see we have been moving sideways here only to get this information and go back to the upside. Is that going to keep us up, or are we going to come back to the downside? That's something to be mindful of if you trade NVIDIA. So where are the trouble places to the upside? 882.39 is the 200 EMA on the 1 hour, or the ATR trailing stop on the 4-hour is at 888.61. So we will need to break that 880.37 before we can try to test that area, but we're not far from that now. So again, I always say, where am I going to have trouble? Trade what you see. Look for your trouble places or your resistance. And if you use the moving averages, those are helpful for me to help with support and or resistance. And to the downside, we are above all of our moving averages here on the 1 hour. So to the downside, it looks as if the moving average, the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart is at 836, which would put us back down at the 837 trigger. So if we decide to come back to the downside, I would say be careful at those areas. Be mindful of that. AMD is also an inside day, and I'll give the trigger to that, which we had already met the downside target for AMD. If it broke past 167.29, then the target was at the 166.82, and we hit 164 pre-market. So to the upside, if AMD breaks above 171.60, then the target is 171.66. I always say trade what you see, trade carefully, trade cautiously. Be very, very careful today, because I just say I always say I don't trust the move. I always want to see what's going on and pay attention to the charts. That's why it's so important to learn your charts before just jumping into trading, because it makes it a little bit easier when you understand, right? That's something to think about. So going back to the VIX is coming down. It seems to be finding support here. So that means the SPY is probably continuing. Let's see where the SPY is as of now. SPY could it seems like this 514 area, 514.54, it's kind of like where we were yesterday also. So I would say watch this area. If we break above that, we could come back and, and test that 516. But even with the news, we're still having trouble at that area. It came up a little bit, but it's coming down. And I always say wait on the candle to close. And we have a little time left on this candle before the candle actually closes. So again, this is the SPY on the 5-minute time frame. Is this a double top, which is going to take us back to the downside, back to our gathering spot, is what the consolidation area. So that's something to be mindful of. Again, if you trade the SPY, trade cautiously today. Tesla, it would not surprise me if we break this 169 area, because we stayed here for such a long time, and the news is what sent us up. This hanging man here, is that going to send us back to the downside again? This is the 5-minute chart. I would say with Tesla, again, in my opinion, I see it breaking the 169, but again, I can't guarantee anything. Nothing is guaranteed in the market. I just trade what I see. When the bell rings, anything is possible. Everything can change. Yeah. So y'all listen, I hope these videos are very, very helpful for you. I always ask, where am I going to have trouble? If you can identify that, it makes trading a lot easier. So go in and find your support, find your resistance, and find, find your gathering spot, or let me say, not financial advice, find your gathering spot and trade when it breaks out of this area. So this would have been our gathering spot. It broke out of this area here. So that would have been a scalp from here to here. That's something to be mindful of. So I hope that everyone have a very, very profitable day today. It's a new day, another opportunity, right? Let's say that. So, yeah, have an awesome day today, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. So, I always like to leave you with this: be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.